guess to get us started, I just wanted you to give just a brief intro about what you do, just for anybody who might be watching this, who maybe wasn't at the panel and doesn't already know who you are. So just a little bit about what you do and what you're about.
Well, well, I do a lot of things. I would probably describe myself as a multimedia producer, anywhere from making music to music supervision to making film, videography, film, directing. That's what I do. So from a creative aspect, I would brand myself or say that I can fill the role of a creative director, kind of like an overseer of media production, because that's what I'm really good at, and that's what I do. So I have a company a startup that I call Ajani Media, and it focuses on creating content and stories for music brands and musicians. So that's pretty much in a nutshell what I do.
Gotcha. That's amazing. I feel like a lot of people in the music industry have a similar story that, they're definitely not one thing. Everybody's doing all different kinds of things and going a lot of different directions. I feel like that's
Definitely.
kind of the way the industry works. You got to be constantly just like trying new things and seeing what works. So keeping yourself versatile. Kind of to move from that and get us a little bit toward talking about your documentary project, I know that we've chatted a little bit on LinkedIn about, you're living in Miami, you've lived in Latin America, and like kind of incorporating Spanish and Latin culture into what you do and into your life and your work in like the music industry and the entertainment industry. So I wanted to just ask you what you thought about kind of this explosion of global music and Latin music that has been really kind of picking up speed the last few years. And maybe if that's at all impacted any of your career or even just, your music listening habits and just what you think about all of that and the way that kind of music is becoming a much more global experience.
Well, I think the trends in terms of Latin music comes from the influence of the U.S. being a superpower. So the U.S. really has its foothold on global culture, no matter what. So whatever becomes a trend within the U.S. trickles out to the globe. And one thing that I think that's pushing the rise of Latin music is the fact that the U.S. has a quite a substantial Spanish-speaking market.
Mm-hmm.
And so I mean, obviously that drives trends, and Spanish picks up in the market, and then it becomes trendy, and now you go from that, it goes worldwide. So I think the combination of what goes on domestically trickles out into the international market.
Yeah, definitely. And I feel like, and there's so much, talent, I feel like in these genres of music that I feel like has been really popular, obviously, in lots of different Spanish-speaking parts of the world for so long. And now we're finally really seeing it become sort of more mainstream and trendy and popular in the US, which is great that market is kind of expanding and more people are starting to discover these different genres of music outside of, just kind of our general, pop, hip hop, R&B, like delineations that we've normally, been interested in the US for a long time. And even seeing crossovers too. I think That's been pretty cool too, the way that these different genres are kind of becoming a part of the main, like American genres, and you're seeing a lot of crossovers between artists too, which has been really cool.
There's a lot of that. I've been looking at those trends for the last couple of years, and you see some of the biggest pop stars collaborate or have worked with some of the biggest Latin stars.
Yeah.
So it's I see a lot of crossover in the Spanglish market.
Yeah.
So that's really interesting, and that's something that I haven't put all my effort into, but that's something that that's my main focus. So
yeah.
Going from that, from my experience in Latin America, seeing actually how the Latin population consumes music in certain parts, and then being in Miami, understanding how the big market, the larger market, I guess the English speaking market, understanding how that works, and being influenced by that, and being influenced in Latin America, and then being in Miami, where it's really an epicenter
Yeah.
of that type of music. Um, that's something that I think it makes sense to attack, because it's a huge market, and it's growing.
Yeah, absolutely. And places like Miami, I feel like are these like you said, it's an epicenter. It's a kind of a cultural melting pot. It's a place where all of these different influences come together and start to overlap and mix, which is amazing. I can't imagine, like I would love to go live there or like work there at some point. So I guess my next question, kind of moving from that into some of the things that you're working on now, I really wanted to talk to you about this new documentary project that you're working on that's all about dembow music and reggaeton and the roots of that. So could you just give a little description of what that project is and why you took it on, and just just a little bit of an intro about this project that you're working on?
Well, not to get into the gritty details of what we're doing, because we're still in the process of doing that. But the reggaeton music is a music of diaspora. It has a lot of mixes and influences from just one small region. The root of reggaeton really goes to is influenced by reggae music. And when reggae was getting popular, and the sound systems and dancehall, when they were building the canal in the 20th century, a lot of Jamaicans went to Panama,
Mm-hmm.
and they brought the culture with them, and then the children and grandchildren took that culture and really started making reggae music in Espanol. So there's a subgenre of reggae called reggae en Espanol, and you have the El Nando, you have El General, which influenced a lot of the Puerto Rican artists, like Daddy Yankee. Like he's always made it clear that those were some of his influence in his rise. So, and then Puerto Rican kind of took that culture, the reggae en Espanol and reggae, and then they blended it with hip hop. Even though Jamaican culture has its influence in hip hop too, so it's like a it's like a full circle of influence, and it became what it is today. But at its root, the history, Jamaican culture is the pinnacle of it. Without Jamaican culture, there would be no reggae, Espanol, or reggaeton.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And for me, I mean, I listen to a lot of Latin music, and I feel like I've been learning more and more about the different genres that go into that, because obviously Latin music means a lot of different things, and there's so many different subgenres within that kind of larger umbrella. Just as there's pop and hip hop and rap, there's reggaeton and there's bachata, and there's all these different subgenres within Latin music. And I didn't know a ton about the roots of reggaeton and about the roots of specifically like dembow music. And artists like El Alfa and people who fall under that umbrella. And ever since I saw your LinkedIn post about this documentary, I've been reading more and more about it, just trying to learn all I can, just because it's so fascinating. And you're right, it's this coming together of all these different influences and genres to create this new genre baby, which is pretty awesome.
Right, definitely.
And I guess you started to touch a little bit on what this genre is and where it comes from. I guess, where did the idea for this project come from? I don't know. I'm assuming there's other people working on this with you and things, but where did the idea for this come from, and why did you decide that this was an important thing to highlight in a documentary?
My family's Jamaican on my mother's side, so I would say it's really kind of learning about my own Jamaican heritage in a way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But also I spent a lot of time in Panama, and you always hear like reggaeton was first in inventing Panama and this and that, and the Puerto Ricans, they weren't they didn't invent reggaeton. I mean, there's a huge discussion, but
Yeah.
not to get into that. But so after hearing all of this, and then being in Miami, it's I got a sense like, okay, this is interesting because there's a lot of those influences here, and so as reggae became popular in the 60s and 70s, I was sitting in the room working with these people. Like, we're talking about the pioneers and the people who really pushed reggae to a large global scale. And it's like I'm sitting there, I'm listening to them talk, and it's like I'm like, how did I even get here? This is really fascinating. And then I always thought about those type of conversations people had in Panama, and I just got it just sparked an idea to, okay, I have some sort of idea what Jamaican culture is, being in a room with some of those pioneers, and then being very acclimated to Panamanian culture, understanding what it is, and understanding that somewhere along the way those two blend because of the Jamaican influence that came to Panama.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just, I was like, okay, let's explore that idea.
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, let's go forward and go forward with this project.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, that kind of brings me to my next question, which is, if you could give a little bit of insight on what I mean, I know you're kind of in the early stages of working on this project, but what does the process for creating a documentary like this look like? Like, are you, I don't, it's not something that I know a ton about, like going about getting footage and figuring out what the sort of storyline for this kind of a film is going to be. What does that really look like?
I mean, it involves a lot of research because it's very historical.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be a lot of archive, and it's going to be heavily based on music from the past and the big hits. So it's really looking to see what potential music that I will use, and then seeing how much the less licensing will cost, and the whole 9 yards. Looking at footage, also looking at places where I can shoot, I guess, footage to piece together that story, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of things out there that were missed within the story of the history. So actually researching and see, okay, well, what are the pieces missing, and then you go out and you try to fill those gaps. So it's very research intensive, and you have to be just, okay, understand what have an idea what the storyline is, and then just try to fill the gaps, and you work on that, and you refine it until you have a project, a full project.
Yeah, and being that this is a documentary about music, I mean, you just mentioned, part of that process is figuring out what music you're going to use and how to get it cleared, and using it all legally. And I would guess that your experience with some like music supervision and sync would help you in that process as well, just knowing how to go about all of that.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I'll probably get somebody to actually music supervise the film itself, because it's be directing a film, a feature, or a feature. It's a different level. It's a different level when you're overseeing the whole process.
Yeah, definitely. There's got to be a lot of moving parts to oversee. I can't even imagine having to keep track of all of that. But yeah, that's amazing. And I guess I was gonna ask you if you have had any information about like where this would eventually like be released and how people can watch it. I don't know if you have any of that figured out yet, because obviously you're still in pretty early stages, but if not, that's definitely something you could let us know about, because we'd love to let people know. I know I'm definitely going to want to see it.
That's early on, and I have
Yeah.
some ideas, but I wouldn't want to discuss that type of proprietary
No worries.
information right now.
No worries, but I'm sure people, once it is created and out there, people will definitely want to check it out. And I also, beyond just the documentary, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about your experience in sync and the connection between, you know, filmmaking and music, because that's something that we discussed in the panel back in July. And the sync world is something that I think a lot of people really want to understand and want to work in. There's so much buzz and interest about the sync world, I feel like, particularly now. Actually, I saw a post that you posted on LinkedIn with a poll about like what people would want to hear more about from you, and like sync and licensing was like the top the top choice that people said they wanted to learn more about.
It's going back and forth. Sometimes, some days I'll wake up and it says music marketing, and then it'll say sync. So we'll see. We'll see.
Well, there's definitely some interest there in sync. And I just wanted to ask you if there was just a few like key things that you think that people need to know if they want to be successful working in sync, whether that's as a music supervisor, whether they're working more on the film side and they just, you know, like you are kind of working in a lot of different spaces, but they're incorporating music in some kind of a visual medium. Are there any kind of key pieces of advice or information that you think that people should definitely know about if this is something that they really want to be successful in?
You really have to be, you have to be a self-starter, and you have to really go for it. And also you have to focus on building the relationship, because, you know, I think, and this might be good, but it's more of a short-term game when you just like hit a music supervisor or sync agent or somebody who works in sync, and they say, "Oh, here's my music," and then that's it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So the main thing is to build relationships, because not, let's say with my film, I'm focusing on a specific type of music. If you come to me with if you come to me with pop music, or let's say rock music, I won't be able to help you, because that's my focus. But, you know, I might have a project further down the line where I will have the opportunity to work with you. So a relationship building is so important. And I think also it's a numbers game, just by me saying that, because, you know, again, the music supervisor, the people who you want to reach might not have the opportunity, the right opportunity for you at that current time. Mm-hmm. So a good thing is to have the relationship and you know, keep on building that relationship. So when something comes up, they have you on their they have you right there, so they can reach out to you and say, hey, I have an opportunity for you. And on top of that, mostly is the people that I know personally, I'm gonna sorry.
No worries.
The people that I know personally, those are the first people I'm gonna go to first. And just be ready, and be ready. Make sure your metadata is set. Make sure you have the ID3 tags and everything, because the last thing you want to do is send your music and that none of that information is there, and you lose opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. It's, you know, connecting to people, but also being ready when they finally do have that opportunity that is a good fit for your music. And being ready with all of the metadata and stems and everything that you might need, so that you can actually get that opportunity.
Right, definitely.
And then I would also say, you know, that's definitely for any artists or music creators or composers, who are looking to get their music placed. That's some great advice for them, for being ready for when those opportunities come along. What about for people who maybe want to be the people that someone comes to with their music? Maybe they want to be a music supervisor, maybe they want to be a sync agent, maybe they want to be a filmmaker that's making documentaries about music, you know. Do you have any advice for those people about how to get their foot in the door, or just like learn more about the space, and things that they should know if they want to be successful in any of those kinds of jobs, kind of on the other side?
I would say just reach out to the people who do those things. Even if there's a lot of people who are doing that, so reach out to people. Try to get into a situation to where you can, like, you know, maybe shadow or do the things that those people are doing in their daily life or in their
Yeah.
daily professional life. That's really how I got started. You know, like I knew people, and but the main thing is I was able to get in front of people and say, okay, I could shoot, or I could film, or in terms of music supervision, you do the same thing. Just reach out to people. I know it's music supervision is really small in terms of, yeah, it's really small compared to
Yeah,
film.
definitely.
So you know, it could be a challenge, but you have the internet. It could be a
Yeah.
challenge, but if you want to get into the full circle, like what you can do is at least reach out to people and say hello. I'm interested in being a music supervisor. I see that you're a music supervisor. Would you like to have a chat, or, you know, can I work with you, or whatever that conversation is, and start building those relationships. You can join organizations like ASCAP, you know, not ASCAP, I mean, the Guild of Music Supervision. You could,
Yes, definitely.
and that's where a lot of the top music supervisors are. So you can reach out to them and you know, use those resources that are available in that group, in that community, and get your jump start. You know, so I don't see any barriers really. If all you just need is the internet connection, and you could just hop on LinkedIn. I think LinkedIn is the best platform in terms of B2B. But, you know, you could hop on any social media network where you can find these people and reach out to them.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're right, there's so many platforms available now that you can do that. There's LinkedIn, I mean, any social media platform. Lots of people are active on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. There are all kinds of Facebook groups and clubhouse conversations and things that you can be a part of, where you can connect with people who are doing the things that you want to do. So that's great advice.
Definitely.
And I guess kind of to round things out, you know, I'm connected with you on LinkedIn, and I know you post a lot of advice on LinkedIn all the time. And you were just saying how great you think LinkedIn is for connecting with people. And I'm always seeing the different advice posts that you're posting all the time about working in music and working in the entertainment industry, and even just about generally just like figuring out what you want to do, and being happy doing it and doing it successfully, and being motivated and hardworking. So I wanted to ask you now, what do you think is just some of the most important advice that you would have, just for those generally trying to make it in the entertainment industry in whatever capacity that might be, how to do that successfully, and some of the qualities that you should have, if you really want to be successful in entertainment, in film, music.
I think you have to be a self-starter, you know. Don't wait for opportunities just to fall in your lap. You know, I'm more of a self-starter, so I wouldn't have gotten to the type of projects or met the type of people that I met if I was just sitting there waiting for the perfect job, or to work with Sony Music, and those are great things. If you can do that, if that's what you want to do, go for it. But uh, I also see a lot of, for example, interns. They'll be looking for a job for 3 4 years, 2 3 years, coming out of school, and they're really struggling. So it's for me. I think, and start your own thing, start your own
Mm-hmm.
company, start your own podcast, become part of the conversation, and build that I guess that personal brand. So, you know, people get to see you from a different aspect, and, you know, they start reaching out to you to have conversations, or to hire you, and and everything that comes with it. So That's one of my biggest advices out there. But also relationships. You have to build relationships, and then that it's a relationship based business. And you know, I've had some of my greatest relationships are come from years ago. And the thing about it is, you know, when you're young and you're getting the experience in the music industry, you'll come across people who will become the next leaders in the music industry, and they start building these big businesses, and it's become CEOs and whatnot. So it's a long-term game. So focus on building relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always opportunity, even if you have to create it yourself. You can, and you can start your own thing and use that as leverage to then get positions at other companies. Yeah, open doors for you.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely something that everybody should keep in mind, no matter what sector of the entertainment industry they're trying to work in. Because that's the thing, I feel like people, when you're applying to jobs, applying to internships, they're always looking for experience. And it can feel hard to have the experience they're looking for, because it's like, well, I need to get an internship to get experience, I need to get a job to get experience. But really, you know, you can create your own experience and you can create your own thing. And then that becomes what you put on your resume.
Right. On top of that, there's so many people going for that one position.
Yeah.
So like, you might have the experience or you might be a good candidate, but they're probably not going to look at you take your resume serious, because they have 2,000 people applying for that one position.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely that kind of an industry. There's such a, I feel like the industry is so saturated right now with people who want to work and want to get these jobs that, yeah, it can be so frustrating, feeling like you're a good fit and feeling like, yeah, you have the experience and you're not getting these positions, but it's not necessarily personal. It's just, there's so many people with the experience, there's so many resumes they have to look at that they just don't get to you.
Right. So,
yeah.
So why not start your own thing?
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's my main advice.
Yeah, and that's great advice. Networking, making connections always, connecting with the people who are kind of on the same level as you too, as you were saying, because they're the future CEOs, they're the future company owners and label execs and A&Rs and music supervisors. Yeah, just being a self-starter and making your own opportunities. That's great advice that everybody should follow, no matter what they're looking to do in the future in their career. So that kind of brings me to the end of my questions. I don't know if there's anything else that you wanted to share, but I really, really enjoyed talking to you, and I really appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation. And I'm looking forward to your future work, to this documentary eventually. It's definitely something I'm super interested in, so I would definitely love to see it whenever it's eventually created and out there in the world.
Well, definitely. Well, I just want to say, like, to anybody who watches this, just keep on going, don't give up. And you know, if you want to build a career in music entertainment, you know, it's a long-term game. You know, it can't just be out there and after 3 years you give up, which a lot of my peers have unfortunately done, and a lot of them are talented, but the ones who've stuck around for the last couple of years, now we're starting to see success. One of my good friends the other day, he just got his first plaque. So, and he worked with Snoop Dogg and DMX and you know, so many great things that he's doing. So it's a long-term game. So, you know, you might have the few who might hit success early on, very, very early on. And, you know, those are outliers, but at the end of the day, I think if you really want to have real success, it's a long-term game.
Yeah, absolutely. That's so true. And I appreciate you sharing that. Like I said, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. And thank you so much for being here. I'm looking forward to seeing everything that you do in the future. And I would just say that everyone should connect with you on LinkedIn, because I love all of your posts. You're very active on there, always posting new things, new advice and articles and things, which I appreciate. I'm always taking a look at. So.
Well, thank you so much for looking at my posts and enjoying the stuff that I post. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely.